Hey, what's up? I'm Al Cox. I make games, play games, and everything in between. And today we are doing a review on Buildbox. I've been using Buildbox for 3 years, and let's be clear, that's 2 years with Buildbox 2 and 1 year with Buildbox 3. And I'm gonna try to touch all of it because people easily get confused between Buildbox 2 and Buildbox 3, and they're like, which one's the Buildbox that is the one with the box? And I'm like, they all have boxes, but let's get going. This video is brought to you by the game I made with Buildbox 3 called Ball Meets World, available now for iOS and Android. This game, the first prototype took me about 3 days, and then a month to build it out and another month to polish it. I have live streams to see how this game was made and kind of how I, someone who has been using Buildbox for years, uses Buildbox to this day. I used Buildbox 2 for 2 years and I loved it. I had a blast. I thought it was great. There's no code. It has a lot of bugs, but you kind of learn to create levels, design things. There's a fun little saying, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And that kind of just helps you move forward in your game development process. Now, if you've never looked at any other game engines before, I wouldn't recommend Buildbox. I would actually recommend you do more research. There's a lot of game engines out there. Godot, Unity with Playmaker, Corgi or Bolt, Manu, and all these things kind of depend on what do you want to create. You need an idea of what your end goal is so that you can set your foundation on how to get there. For example, if you wanted to make something like Fortnite, totally check out Core. It's a new engine that literally came out like a month or two ago, and it's amazing. You do need a PC, so there is a catch, and a lot of these game engines are kind of like PC or Mac. If you're trying to make games for the App Store, somewhere along the process you will need a Mac because that's just how the Apple ecosystem is set up. Overall, Buildbox is more expensive than its competitors, and it focuses on the hyper-casual market or games on the cell phone. Basically, those games that you play on the bus or you'll play for a minute or two and then you'll stop and you'll continue playing it later. Buildbox has a free version, and the main reason why I recommend doing research on other game engines is because of this here, where this little X is. No mobile export. When I see that, it makes me cringe a little bit because the game dev community is usually around this idea of making certain things free, like being able to upload your games to the App Store or Android Play Store. In the hyper-casual world, there's a lot of clones, and people sometimes go into Buildbox and they just straight clone. They'll literally just publish the template and they think that's it when it comes to making a game. That's my biggest concern with the pricing. Before Buildbox, when I was making games, I had a full-time job and I actually hired someone to develop my game for me. I used Corona SDK. I also even tried Game Maker previously, but it just didn't work for me, and presently Buildbox works for me. Right now Buildbox has a sale going on, and honestly I think this is a really good deal. You pay attention to Buildbox, they tend to do kind of promotions every, let's say, 3 to 6 months. If this sale doesn't continue, be sure to just keep an eye on them. And Buildbox is smaller than other communities. The biggest game engine with the biggest community out there, I would say, is Unity, and Buildbox has a small community that is slowly growing. I'm a part of that community. I have a lot of devlogs, tutorials, and just literally gameplay from all types of games because I try to keep an eye on the App Store market and see what kind of games are coming out, what people are making, and what people are playing, because I'm super curious about that stuff. Let's take a look at Buildbox 2. I haven't opened this up in over a year. I kind of upgraded to Buildbox 3 because I wanted to make games in a 3D world. One thing to note about Buildbox, and it's super important, is that unlike Unity or Godot, which I feel is a more established game engine, Buildbox is a game engine that you need to kind of view as always in beta, which means that there are always bugs, things constantly need to be fixed. Something may work one day and then the next day it doesn't work. And a lot of people actually get super frustrated with this and will try other game engines. So be sure to try the Buildbox free version, try to build some things, see if it works for you. I can tell you right now that Buildbox 2 is very easy and you can probably learn and make a very simple game within a week. Buildbox 3, for some people, they may be able to grab the concept of developing a game much faster, but I think overall Buildbox 3 just has a lot of complexity with it. A good analogy I like to think of is Buildbox 2 is kind of like the iPod. You know, iPods were great. You can listen to music. Oh my God, thousands of songs. And Buildbox 3 is kind of like the iPhone. It still has those capabilities. Buildbox 3 is kind of like an exponential growth of Buildbox 2 in terms of you can do 2D, 3D, no code, with code. You can do so much. Whereas in Buildbox 2 is 2D, no code, here you go. You can still create a lot. I grew up on Buildbox 2. It helped teach me how to go through the grind of making levels, uploading things to the App Store. All these things literally take hours of time to do and learn, and Buildbox 2 helped give me a good introduction to that. Whereas if you just jump to Buildbox 3, you could be overwhelmed, but if you have no idea, you may be able to just get into it. The biggest thing I ever tell anybody is to try to make an endless type of game. That way you have your first game done and rinse and repeat. Make 2 games, 3 games, 4 games. Because while I have known people to hit major success with their very first game, you know, you always want to plan for success, but it doesn't necessarily happen. This is Buildbox 2. Let's check out this game that I released to the App Store 2 years ago using Buildbox 2. Fun game called Color Swipey. I came up with the idea when I was living in Korea, and then I fully developed it in Austria. So this is a quick look at Buildbox 2. That sound off. Here we can see super simple game. I haven't looked at this in years. I think you can understand how it works. And you know, making games is a... Oh, you see that slow motion? Making games is a process. Now, when I was making this game, I remember just walking up to random people in Vienna and trying to get them to download my game. You know, making games is a process, and there's a lot of things to learn when you're new. To me, Buildbox 2 has a lot of easy functionality. There's no code anywhere here, and you kind of just set things up little by little. Like, I think this is the main character. Even looking at the UI doesn't even look as chic as Buildbox 3, but here we see we got the character, we got objects, and these are all different objects. You can almost get an idea of the layout of the game that I created. And again, this was the first game I released with Buildbox, and it got featured all over Europe. I got 15,000 downloads. Very cool for someone who's brand new to game development. If you're interested in Buildbox 2, be sure to check out videos that I have. Type in to search Buildbox 2 for free. I have a link, and if you find this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button because that helps the YouTube algorithm. I hope all this information is valuable. For me, making games is a hard process that's lots of fun. When you have an idea in your head and you're able to get it out onto the App Store and you don't need to know how to code, it's a rare thing. That being said, Buildbox has bugs and is always in beta. You know, where other people see big problems, I see an opportunity to grow and learn kind of with Buildbox in how to make things easier and just making games. No matter what you do in terms of what game engine you use, you will face problems, you will face difficulties. There is no circumventing that. So that is why I strongly recommend for everyone to try everything and see what works for you. Don't jump on the first thing and then just stick with that. That being said, Buildbox 2 is ridiculously easy. If you just want a no-code game engine that you don't have to put too much thought into it in terms of code, then check out Buildbox 2. On that note, a lot of hit games are made with Buildbox 2. Games that get featured, games that get recommended by Apple. The vast majority of all Buildbox games that have been featured by Apple were made with Buildbox 2. If you decide to go with Buildbox 2, you're in good company. Again, if you are on the free plan, no full export. Big thumbs down on that, Buildbox. Come on, help the community out. There was a game I released last year on Buildbox 2. Let's check that out super quick as well. I haven't opened this in over a year. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. So if you saw that first game and you were like, oh my god, that's so great, I could do that. This game took me 6 months to make. This game, I remember spending every day in coffee shops in Vietnam because that's where I was when I made a lot of these levels. I went through the grinding process of setting all this up, and this game took me 6 months to make, and it was a lot of fun. I should also be clear, I don't make money making games. I think a lot of people get into making games so that they can make a lot of money, and then they don't have to worry about making games or anything else because they have all this money, and once you have money you can make more money. I don't know, I have no idea, because that's not my goal. My goal is more focused on learning how to make games and to be more efficient in making games. The thing with Buildbox is it's really good for fast prototyping and getting an idea from your head onto a computer, onto a phone, and I really like that. So I haven't put my focus on making money with games, but then I'm in a different position. I don't have to worry about it, is because I made my money the old-fashioned way. I got a job, I worked up the corporate ladder. I kind of just saved a little bit of money every year while having a job for 10 years, and I found myself living in New York, being unhappy, paying like thousands of dollars in rent to live in a tiny box, and I just didn't care. So I packed everything up and went to go live in India. I can't make this up. I can't. Lived in India, and I've been traveling the world ever since. Recently, since I got back from Colombia, in my mom's basement for like 2 or 3 months, which is literally the longest I've lived anywhere since I started traveling. So I'm complicated. Is it possible to make money with games? There's a lot of money to be made, and actually Buildbox has a partnership with Quali, which is kind of a big deal, but then that's more about the hyper-casual market and industry. That is not what this video is about. This video is about Buildbox. Buildbox 2, as you can see, this game, super fun. Like, this is a whole intro. I remember that taking me hours and hours. I think a lot of people get into game development and they don't foresee the hours of work, because I guess nobody plans for hard work. I don't know. I think we just live in that modern society of give me quick results, instant satisfaction. I mean, literally, I'm making games that have that same kind of appeal. So it's like a whole Hakuna Matata circle of the way things are. This game took me 6 months to make. I did a lot of it in Vietnam and Thailand when I was living there. Oh my god, I miss the $1 food and the hot weather and and the fast Wi-Fi. Yeah, like here we can see each level. A lot of things going on here. And all this was a really strong introduction and knowledge before I even went to using Buildbox 3. And let's be clear, I remember when Buildbox 3 first came out, it wasn't ready. It was still in beta. It is actually kind of still now in beta. That being said, leaps and bounds in terms of support, functionality, ease of use. But Buildbox 3 is still difficult because making games is difficult. When Buildbox 3 first came out, it was super buggy and I just wasn't interested, so I continued to use Buildbox 2. Then I saw someone who had been working with Buildbox 3. They were able to make a prototype and then they eventually got a deal with a publisher, remade their game that was originally in Buildbox 3 in Unity. That game was Picker 3D and it got to #1 on the App Store. They probably made loads of money. Hopefully they made lots of money and they're probably using Unity. So if your goal is to make money, lots of money in the hyper casual game market, then I really strongly suggest you use Unity because that's what everybody else is using. That being said, if you use Buildbox, Buildbox has a relationship with Quali. If you can get good with Buildbox 3, make prototypes quickly, then you can test with Quali in terms of meeting their KPIs, which is key performance indicators. If you don't know what that means, I strongly recommend you do more research. I have a couple links down below to help give a better introduction into what exactly is the hyper casual market and what it may mean for you. After Picker 3D hit #1, I realized that developer had spent time learning Buildbox 3, and even though it was super complicated, I too needed to jump into Buildbox 3 if I ever wanted to make 3D games. Since then, I've been creating devlogs, tutorials. I have multiple playlists around Buildbox 2 and Buildbox 3 on my channel. Again, if you like this video, this kind of content, do me a favor, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe as I put out videos daily. And I gotta be honest, Buildbox 3 for someone like me who had been using Buildbox 2 for 2 years was ridiculously difficult. I was a big baby kicking and screaming all along the way. And a year later, here is a game that I made in a month. You know, it's 3D, it looks great, and it's got 50 levels. The ability to have an idea and then make a game quickly. I made this prototype in like 3 days when I was in Colombia. The lockdown had just begun and mi no hablo español, yo aprende poquito los días. No lo sé. Making this game, there's a bug right there. Like you can't, if you have 2 screens, the UI button, Buildbox bug. Very common. Been using Buildbox literally every day for a year and now I'm able to get to here. And I hope to continue this journey to eventually be at a place where I can make the type of games that I want to quickly. And this game has 1 world, and here you can see the Buildbox plan is like 1 world, 5 scenes, 5 world, 15 scenes. This may not make sense. Here is the correlation, 1 world. There's many ways to build your own game, who'd have thought? And I originally had this be 1 world because a lot of people were like, you can't make a full game with 1 world, and I was like, that's not true. This is the world and we have 50 different levels. All this took time and the vast majority of this game was made during live streams, which are all available in my playlist under devlogs. Check it out. You can see what someone like me goes through while making the game. I try very hard to talk out every individual step of what I'm doing during my live streams, which kind of is difficult, but is also helpful for me to reinforce all the things that I've learned while using Buildbox 3 for the past year. This game right now I'll be testing with Quali. I don't actually believe I'll meet the metrics numbers to get a publishing deal because those are really hard to do. And my focus again is to just make the games that I want to make. As you can see, all these levels are different. We got bouncing platforms, we got enemy objects, all these cubes rotate. This is a cool one. This changes the camera view. Quick insight into this game. Here's the character. This character has a lot going on here. This is a touch move for the character. This is the level selector. This is a 3D model. This is a if collide that, if collide this, another if collide. And all of these objects are nodes here, and then you can see this is where the code is. If you know how to JavaScript, the world is yours. Buildbox will still always kind of feel like it's in beta, but you can do a lot. I should mention, I don't know how to code. 97% of this game is no code, which is kind of a really big deal. That's my overview on Buildbox 2 and Buildbox 3. If you found this information helpful, do me a favor, don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts. Have you used Buildbox? Have you used other engines? What would you recommend and why? I think everybody is different and you just need to find what works for you and what your goals are. For me, it's to make fun games quickly that appeal to a mass audience, that have innovative game mechanics designed by me. For other people, it's to make a quick prototype so that they can get a publishing deal and follow those steps to get their game to the top of the App Store. At the end of the day, the most difficult thing for any game developer is to finish a game. I think since using Buildbox, I've uploaded maybe 15 games to the App Store, but maybe only like 3 of them are cool games, half of which I've showed you in this video. And the others were kind of just playing around and getting familiar with the upload process, the screenshot process, because all this stuff is invaluable when developing games. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you would like more videos about game development. Until next time, stay safe and peace.